afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce the program today. Suzanne Graney is the director of the Four Diamonds Fund at Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital. In this role, Suzanne sets the strategy and oversees all fundraising and public relations initiatives. She is the staff liaison to the Penn State Dance Marathon Overall Committee. She provides fundraising assistance and guidance to community organizations and manages the activities of the advisory board. Suzanne joined Four Diamonds in September of 2010, and the annual revenue has grown by 24% since that time, increasing from $11 million to $14 million annually. Recent projects have included executing a series of events to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the Four Diamonds Fund, collaborating with WPSU on the production of an hour-long documentary about FOM, and developing a 5-year growth strategy. Prior to her role at Four Diamonds, Suzanne was the Director of Development and Marketing at WITF, where she successfully managed a $2.4 million annual appeal, which included direct mail, telemarketing, on-air campaigns, corporate sponsorships, and fundraising events. Suzanne holds her bachelor's degree in speech communication from Penn State University. She is a graduate of Leadership Harrisburg Area's Community Leadership Series, a member of the Association of Healthcare Philanthropy, and past president of the Pennsylvania Public Relations Society. Suzanne is a past seminar chairperson for Central PA Hoagie and provided national service to Hoagie as the program chairperson of their World Leadership Congress in 2003. In 2008, Suzanne was named to the Central PA Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and was recognized for outstanding youth business leaders. Suzanne earned her accreditation as a certified fundraising executive in June 2012. Please help me provide a warm Rotary welcome to Suzanne Graney.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Di, for that introduction. Thank you to all of you at York Rotary for the invitation to talk to you today about the Four Diamonds Fund and the upcoming dance marathon and what's behind all of that, which is children who have cancer and our mission to eradicate childhood cancer. I'm going to start with a little video. As happy as that video makes me, the following facts do not make me happy at all. Fact, childhood cancer is the #1 disease killer of children in the United States. Fact, more than 12,500 children are diagnosed every year. Fact, 1 in 5 of those children will die within 5 years from their disease. Here's more facts. We give life-saving treatment to 600 children every year at Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital. Last year, 96 of those children lived in York County. That means that every public school in York County that averages almost 1 child in every school has cancer. Here's a fact. We believe those facts are unacceptable. And we are on a mission to change that. The mission of the Four Diamonds Fund is to conquer childhood cancer by providing outstanding, superior care, comprehensive support, and innovative research. And we don't just say that we're providing superior care. U.S. News and World Reports recognized us last year as saying you are one of the top 50 hospitals in the country providing this type of care. What we know is that it has taken us 40 years to get that designation. We were founded in 1972, and I can't read that from here. We've raised more than $100 million in our fight against childhood cancer. We've assisted more than 3,200 families throughout central Pennsylvania as they have battled with their children fighting cancer. We have never had to turn an eligible child away from receiving assistance from the Four Diamonds Fund. And we are part of Penn State University our home base is at the Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So how do we help children and families? It's really easy to say we help kids, we help families, but what is it that we do? Part of what we do is superior care. We're providing outstanding life-saving medical care to these children as they're facing this killer disease. What does comprehensive support mean? Well, for a family, it's pretty incredible when you don't receive a bill for the care that you're receiving when your child has cancer. We are taking care of all of the funding gaps after insurance is being billed. So things like deductibles and co-pays and co-insurance and prescription drug coverage, and covering the bill completely for those that don't have insurance or other means to pay. We are funding specialty care providers in our hospital. We know that it takes more than just administration of chemotherapy or radiation to cure somebody. It takes support from social work teams and therapists, like a child life specialist or a music therapist or a clinical nutritionist or a psychologist to help the child and the family make it through this battle. We also have a commitment on our campus to family-focused care. And what that means is that we're taking care of the siblings and we're taking care of the parents while the child is being treated for the medical condition, making sure that while the parent might be staying in the hospital with their child for 6 weeks at a time, that parent has a place to sleep, a place to shower, and food to eat while they're there. We're also making sure that they have the ability to come back and forth to the hospital. If they're receiving outpatient treatment, it's important that they have the means to transport their child back and forth to the hospital. They might come to a clinic visit 5 days a week for weeks on end. But we know that all of the care in the world doesn't cure cancer. So we have a commitment to innovative research as well. And our research team works on basic science, understanding how does cancer work, and also experimental therapeutics, looking at epigenetics and all of the work that the National Institutes of Health has done to unravel the human genome. How can we target gene therapy? How do we individualize cancer treatment based on the type of cancer and the person's genetic makeup? What is the reason that a cancer cell doesn't die? A normal cell will die, it has a shelf life. It's a certain number of times that it will survive, and that's the end of that cell's life. A cancer cell is immortal. How does it get to be immortal? Those are the questions that we're trying to figure out. Those are the questions that we need to answer in order to cure cancer and in order to save 100% of all of the children who are diagnosed with cancer. So how did we get started? 40 years ago, we were a very, very small hospital in the middle of a cornfield in Hershey, and a family in Elizabethtown found out that their son was diagnosed with cancer. He was 11 years old and was referred to Boston Children's Hospital for his immediate care. And while there, the family benefited from the Jimmy Fund. And they looked at each other and said, something like this should really exist in central Pennsylvania. People are battling cancer there and they need help in our own backyard. So they made a decision that they would do something about that. Their son battled cancer for 3 years, and unfortunately he lost his battle. But shortly before he died, he wrote a story called The Four Diamonds, where he talked about a quest. And he identified 4 characteristics that any person would need to have to muster within themselves in order to be successful in their cancer journey. And he called those 4 diamonds. His parents, Charles and Irma Millard, on the day of his death, 3 hours after he died, reached out through their grief and created the Four Diamonds Fund. It is a fund within Penn State. It is specific to the Penn State Hershey Children's Hospital, and our mission is to take care of the children and their families when they're battling this disease on our campus. Right around the same time, Penn State students were starting a dance-a-thon, and they started out having about 78 dancers who raised $2,000. It was our good fortune in 1977 when the students were starting to grow their program and they learned about the Four Diamonds Fund and said, you know, it would make a lot of sense for us to partner together and keep the funds that we raised within the family of Penn State. We have children right here within the Penn State community that we could be helping every year. Now it has grown to more than 15,000 students every year devoting their time and their energy to raising money and raising awareness about pediatric cancer. I want to welcome Alana here today, who is the chair of the Penn State York campus fund activities. She and another co-chair helped to spearhead all of the fundraising and awareness activities on the York campus. All of the Commonwealth campuses participate in FON, and we affectionately call it FON, but when we say that, we're referring to the culmination of a year-long event. Putting together all of these students under one roof, raising the energy, supporting families with love through a 46-hour, no sitting, no sleeping dance marathon at Penn State every February. Last year, these students raised a stunning $10.68 million to help us in our fight. And since 1977, they have collectively raised $89 million to help us fight childhood cancer. Beyond that, they've inspired others to be involved. Because of their activities and their leadership and their love and caring, other young students said, I want to do something similar in my high school. And they created mini funds to benefit Four Diamonds. And it started with one school, and then a couple others came on board. Last year we had 82 high schools, middle schools, and a handful of elementary schools who joined us in the fight against childhood cancer. 12 of those schools were in York County, and collectively those 82 schools raised $1.5 million to help us. Over the course of that program's history, they have raised $8 million in the fight against childhood cancer. It's easy to throw those numbers out, but take a minute to think about $89 million from college students and $8 million from high school students, middle school, and elementary students. It's stunning the amount of energy and passion that goes into this program, and we are so fortunate to have thousands upon thousands of people that help us every year in this fight. But really, I could talk all day about the Four Diamonds Fund. But to make it more meaningful, we have to think about who are we really helping? It's the families that really will open your heart, open your mind, and allow you to think, what is it truly like to go through a cancer battle? So it's my pleasure to be able to introduce you to Shayne Beecher, one of your members, who is one of our proud Four Diamonds dads. And to launch that introduction, I want everybody to have an opportunity to see how he so passionately rallied the students last year at the Penn State Dance Marathon.
Penn State Hershey Medical Center and Four Diamonds have all the heavy artillery. Right now, join me. Use all your love. Raise your glowing swords. Raise your diamonds. Raise your water guns. And let's march on like Charlie to beat cancer! We are! We are!
Ladies and gentlemen, Shayne Beecher.
Well, we have a much smaller crowd today than the Rotary Center last year. I first want to thank John Kleinens and Bert after a membership meeting
commented to me about the Why We Dance documentary, and I talked about this idea, and they got behind it immediately. So thank you for letting us come in here today and talk about Four Diamonds. And I also want to thank all of you as fellow Rotarians, because so many of you did follow our family's journey. If not you, your wives, or other family members. So I thank you for that. And I'm humbled and honored to be a member of this club for so many reasons. You are leaders of this community, your businesses, and your families. And as leaders, we know that we can never be successful alone. And my wife's leadership and my leadership as parents was tested like we never thought possible. December 1st, 2009, I remember driving home from work that night to go home to my young family, my wife Ann, my two sons, Max and Charlie, and being in the financial world, I remember thinking to myself that night, wow, it's kind of a relief. The credit crisis seems to be mending. The economy seems to be improving. I think things are going to get a little better. And when I walked in the door, my wife pulled me aside and she said, Charlie's not been himself today. He's dropping to his knees in pain and crying, which was very unusual for our happy 16-month-old son. And she had said the pediatrician at WellSpan gave us a list of things to do, and we did. The next day, next evening, about 1 a.m., the motherly instinct kicked in. She walked into our bedroom and she said, I'm taking Charlie to York Hospital. And of course, what do? I had a meeting the next day in front of 50 people. Right then and there, the fight started. And fortunately for our family, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Mark Dorn, ER physician at WellSpan, for some odd reason decided to change out shifts with somebody and picked up Charlie's clipboard at 7 a.m. Of course, reviewed the ultrasounds and then decided to send Ann and Charlie up to pediatric urologist Dr. Ross Decker. And Mark called me and he said, Beach, you sitting down? I said, no, but I am now. He said, well, we looked at the ultrasound and there's a mass. I said, a mass? You mean cancer? He said, we can't diagnose it, but Mark and I played football together, and he just said, you need to get ready. And I got in my car, I left the meeting, and I drove to Penn State Hershey Medical Center. And when I got there was my wife, tired, exhausted, my young son, half asleep, and my father-in-law who took her up there. She asked if I'd changed Charlie's diaper, and I did. And my father-in-law was with me, and I just asked him, I said, so why do you think we're here? And he said, well, we're just here for a consult. 10 minutes later, Dr. Ross Decker hands my crying son to my wife, looks me in the eye, and says, there's a high probability your son has rhabdomyosarcoma. Sarcoma? Yes, Mr. Beecher. Cancer? Yes. Those words will forever echo in my mind. But if it wasn't for Dr. Dorn's call, I don't know if I would have had the courage to say to him, what do we need to do right now to get this fight on? We went down, we did our tests, we did our scans, ended up in a hospital room on the 7th floor of the old hospital. And a social worker came in and child life specialist, and there we were, husband and wife. We had no idea what they were talking about because we were in shock. I don't remember a word they said to us in that moment. I felt like a piece of my soul was dying because the odds for Charlie were not real good in that moment. It was down, do we get one type or another, and the one's really bad. So the next day, we're walking the halls while Charlie's in surgery for his biopsy, and Greg Biaki pulled us aside Four Diamonds. So Mr. and Mrs. Beecher, it doesn't matter who you are, but Charlie is here, and you never have to worry about dealing with the insurance company. You don't have to worry about if there's any special medicines. We're going to help you out. We want you to be able to put all your focus and all your effort in Charlie. And I can't tell you, the peace of mind in that moment was enough to get us to the next one. 42 weeks. Never was on the phone once with a health insurance company. It was just simply amazing. So when they say comprehensive, they mean it. That first weekend we got home, I remember Charlie coming home and just so excited to play with his brother. And there he was, had this procedure, had to be in pain, and he's just playing, smiling like a 16-month-old should be. And I realized in that moment there that he's just going to keep going. We need to keep going as a family. And in that moment, I decided, and then tried to help my family decide, we're not going to let cancer rot our souls anymore. The other neat thing that happened through this experience is I got to watch my son, Max, become a leader right before my very eyes. Helping his little brother, being there for his little brother no matter what. And also helping other kids. Four Diamonds has a program called Super Sibs. Because here you are, you have two children. One's getting all the attention, and you have good attention in some cases, but what about the other sibling? So creating that balance is something that Four Diamonds has a nice little roadmap to help you out with. 70% of the money goes to research, but 30% goes to treating the patient, not just the disease. But it's not just the patient, it's the whole family. Because unfortunately, we need a small army to battle cancer. We need parents. If both parents are working, fortunately Ann was able to stay home. I can't imagine one of us would have had to quit our jobs. And in some families they do. Cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, grandparents, babysitters, friends. Everyone in your circle of trust and life is affected. Some of you may have read the Four Diamonds story about Chris Moore. Some of you may not. But for those who didn't, the diamonds were strength, honesty, courage, and wisdom. And he had to earn each one of those to overcome the evil spell of an evil witch named Raptina. Chris also had the same cancer as Charlie. The Beechers, we had to earn our diamonds. We needed to be honest, that 65% meant life and 35% meant death. We needed strength to endure 42 weeks, 6 weeks in Boston. We needed courage. Max, big brother Max, needed courage to want to put the Band-Aid on his little brother after 167 shots that I had to give him. And my wife Ann and my mother-in-law Vicki, they needed courage to spend 6 weeks straight in Boston. And my father-in-law Dennis Grove, he was our rock. He was there no matter what. Wisdom. We had our list of things to do as a parent, and that's all we could do. The doctors and nurses had their list, Four Diamonds had their list, and God had his. The good news for you, everyone in this room already has all those traits, because everybody has faced adversity. It's just at different levels, and it's the only way we bring them out. Charlie is now 29 months cancer-free. I hope that none of you ever have to experience a journey like mine. But just know there is in the Army, in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and Penn State University to help you. I really want to thank you for letting my family today, on behalf of my family, pay it forward, and hopefully to inspire you to earn your 4 diamonds. Paul Harris, I hope today, is looking upon us proudly to know that we are supporting the #1 disease killer in children today, as he did in his fight against polio with his time on this earth. With that, we have one last thing we'd like to share with you. Thank you.
I read someplace, those things that we do for ourselves alone die with us. Those that we do for others and humanity live on and become immortal. I read someplace, those things that we do for ourselves alone die with us. Those that we do for others and humanity live on and become immortal. In the beginning, when people would say, "Isn't it great don't you feel great what you've done?" I said, "I didn't do it. Thousands of people did it. Penn State students did it. Mini-thon students are doing it. There are so many people out there that did it." Before Chris died, he said, "If I die," and he knew he was not in a good situation, he said, "If I die, I want to come back as a wizard and make people well." And I tell the Penn State students, you're bringing his wish to reality by doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much for a great program. You got the font. I think you got all pieces together. Very good. And the story